Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic, and we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in black.
Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we're here on Black Men Can Talk. And what is up, Kofi?
I'm good, my brother. As you see, I'm on the run.
On the move.
I'm on the run.
On the move.
On the move. On the move. On the move. How you doing, family?
I am blessed. So where are you on the move from or to?
Actually, a little bit of both. A little bit of both. We'll get into it, but I'm out here at a party, which I said, you know what? This show is just too important. I'm gonna leave this party and come in, conversate with these folks.
Come on now.
Listen, but you know what? It's actually a balance, of a day, and I'll get into it. But how are you doing? How's your day going so far? As you say, how are things going?
Yeah, it's been a good day. I had a motherly figure in my journey leave us about 2 weeks ago, and I'm just trying to process it. Went to the celebration of life yesterday, and she had a daughter and a son, husband still alive, and I asked the son, what can I do to help the dad? And she says, just be by him and check in on him on a regular basis. And I'm finding out more and more during my journey that either men, direct or indirectly, people who care for men are asking me to do that for them.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that because I was going to say today I got a call from a good friend of mine, a sister, and unfortunately she let me know that her brother has passed away, has transitioned. And I think if it didn't happen yesterday, it happened just recently. So I want to send out, love and guidance to the Herbert family. And one of the things which is also timely with this conversation, a young man who's younger than me, he passed away from diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that she was confiding in me is that the real challenge was actually trying to keep up, with his health regimens and, doing the things and not eating the things that you shouldn't be eating, when you're on diet. But it happens, right? But, again, as Black men, and we talk about care of ourselves, and we continue to push that, the importance of that. So I want to definitely give the condolences. But as I mentioned at the same time, I'm at a 90s party today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the other gray heads and bald heads and other folks, what I mean, that are able-bodied but just weathered-bodied, right? And we're getting down. We're enjoying ourselves. So, it just reminded me again the importance of, joy and balancing life. Even the sadness, there's grief we got to acknowledge, but it's important that that we enjoy ourselves, we are joyful, and we share that joy, with others. So I want to, give thanks for that balance of the day. And again, for anybody that who's going through it, or may have somebody that sick, transition, hurt, again, as Dr. Vibe said, if there are Black men that can reach out to other Black men, or, women, whoever, reach out to the people and touch bases, because life is precious, and we gotta kind of hold on to each other while we can. So I'm giving thanks for that energy.
100%. Well, we've gone on one end of the spectrum. So what's a win you've had recently?
You know, I'm really thinking it's been a very interesting week. So I'm thinking about, there's been some multiple good things, but a friend reached out to me today and in alignments, she's I guess purchased a new studio, and she reached out to me because she was like, "Hey, you know what? I want you to be part of this. Whether it's podcasting or doing photos or whatnot. So just keeping a brother in mind, and speaking to the sister who I've done some work with before, but really excited, about being thought of. So that's a win for me today. So I'm giving thanks for that. What about yourself? What's your win for the week?
This is a good. Being asked to check in on someone to me is a win.
Yeah,
that
sure.
someone values me so much to add life to somebody else is a win. That's a win for me. We lost Kofi's dad from home, but Kofi Morris is with us. Hello, Mr. Morris.
Peace, peace, peace. And blessings, family. How's everybody? How's everything? If all is well, I got the piece of the part of our check-in here. So I think the win I would share is just being able to spend some quality time with family, reconnecting, making some connections with family members that I haven't in a minute since they were small. So I'm thankful for that reconnection and creating space to connect. I attended the Caribbean Tales Film Festival this week, and it was great to connect with the family in the community relative to the creative folks. I checked out a film. For those who haven't checked it, you gotta check it out. Called Sugar Dumpling, and beautiful film depicting something somewhat related once again to tonight's topic as it relates to our health, and connecting to understanding the connection of our elders, some of our older folks who are going through different health challenges, and it specifically highlights pieces around dementia. So definitely check out this film, Sugar Dumpling. There'll be more screenings of it coming up, and definitely something you wanna support. And also you may see some very familiar faces, especially for those from the Jamaican community, relative to the film, because Oliver Samuel stars in that film. So this is a Canadian film, shot right here at home, and definitely want to support this film, Sugar Dumpling. So that's my win for this week, family. Connecting the family, connecting with the community family, connecting with the internal family, and keeping the fire burning.
Excellent. I have not been to TIFF in many years, actually. I hope it sounds like the people went had a good time. Kofi Sadat, have you ever been to TIFF?
I have. It's funny enough. I tried to go to it this week, but I recognize that you have to definitely buy your tickets ahead of time. But I ran into some good folks. I saw Brother Kai down there, Kofi. I saw Brother Kai,
Nice.
which was good, and his wife. So it was good to see them. Just walking around, the energy of downtown and TIFF and Caribbean Tales Festival is it's infectious to Toronto. But yeah, I've been there, but I definitely plan to look at some of the premieres after the film festival and kind of check out what's good.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about something that impacts many Black men, and it's something that many Black men and those who love them need to address. We're not going to tell you to the other side of the commercial. We'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show.
My name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network.
What's been going on?
What's not been going on?
And that isn't how politics work.
The bills you have are a direct reflection of what you value for yourself and your family.
Yes, he is. Here we go. Created in Canada,
syndicated around the world.
Okay, there you go. The Morning Vibe, Monday and Friday mornings for now. There could be some news coming down the pipe at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific with my 6 a.m. Pacific with my comrade, Mr. Ryan O'Neill Knight from the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. So check it out. So let's get to some housework and let's get down to business. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And also, if you want to advertise your business product or service on our platform, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Well, health is your wealth, especially if you're a Black man. And one of the best people we can have on this platform actually is a gentleman named Anthony Henry. And he is, I was going to say he's the lead, but he's one of many leads from the Walnut Foundation, who is an advocacy organization in regards to prostate cancer and Black men's health. So we're going to bring him up right here, right now. Mr. Henry, how you doing? You do need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Dr. Vibe.
Good evening. Good evening,
Good evening,
my brother.
Kofi.
Happy here.
Kofi Sadat, I don't think I've met in person, but good to be on the platform this evening.
Yes, great to have you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Been a busy month, right?
It's been a super busy month, as you know, and I hope most of your audience know by this. September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Prostate cancer is a huge issue for us in the Black community, as you all know. We are 76% more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and more than twice as likely to die from it. Yeah, so huge issue for us. Every time I go out into the community to talk, the big issue is why us? And the why us piece appears to be like it's going to be a longer term issue to deal with in terms of the research piece. But we're primarily focused on what we can do today, now, to deal with this issue, while still encouraging and advocating for more research. So Prostate Cancer Month is this month, and we're engaged in a number of things. There was a proclamation of September as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month on September 10th down at City Hall in Brampton. We are based over here, so that's why it was done here, but we go all over. Last weekend on the 6th, we were in London, Ontario, for a prostate cancer screening. About 50 men were screened there. We just participated in another one today at the CAA Center in Brampton. I'm not sure what the numbers are for that one, but I know about 100 registered. So good thing. And so there are a number of things coming up this month. This month is also the kickoff for our fundraising campaign. We're trying to raise $20,000 to help with the work, the advocacy work, the support work that we do in the Black community. And, you know, I have to say thanks to community, because through your support, we were able to make a down payment on a commitment to TMU Medical School in Brampton. So the first $5,000 was donated there last week, as a matter of fact, actually 2 weeks ago.
Great news. Great news.
Yeah, so quite a bit going on this month, and we hope to make it a year-long thing, not just a 1 month thing.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I know these guys are gonna have a ton of questions, and
no, well, you know what? I've had conversations with Anthony before. you two can drive the ship tonight, because I always have many questions, but I don't know if I get a chance to chat with them about it. So I'm going to stay in the background unless you call me in. Maybe I'll just jump in every once.
Listen,
So it's you too.
You have to always jump in. But I want to, applaud yourself, Anthony, and the work that you're doing. I've seen you out in the community with the Walnut Foundation, at JCA and other events. So I really want to applaud you for that. But I kind of want to start, at the beginning, or not the beginning, but, for folks who may not understand, what is prostate cancer, you kind of clarify, what that is in terms of, educating us around what this thing called prostate cancer is.
So the way I would put it is prostate cancer is really the growth of abnormal cells,
right,
within the prostate, and that is one of the issues that us men have over time. You see, we have this gland called the prostate, and in a young man, so in his 20s,
right,
it's about the size of a walnut. And so, in fact, that's where the name of the group came from, the Walnut Foundation.
Okay.
So this prostate gland gets bigger as we age, and because the urethra runs through the bladder, right through the middle of the prostate, and you urinate through that. So if you can imagine, as that prostate gets bigger, it squeezes the urethra.
Right.
So one of the issues we have is just the issue of, as we get older, this thing gets bigger and it creates a problem for us. But getting back to your problem is when cancer develops in the prostate, it can grow, it can metastasize. So by that I mean spread outside the prostate, and into the bones, into the lymph nodes, and creates problems for us and cause our ultimate death. And so basically that's what's going on there.
That's what it is. Okay. So thank you for that clarity. I'm just gonna ask a follow-up question, if you don't mind, Kofi. Reading your bio, I recognize that, this is not just work for you, but it also connects to your personal story. Do you mind kind of sharing about your personal journey with prostate cancer, and kind of the catalyst that makes you want to get into this work as well?
So this journey for me actually began in the mid-90s when my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 64. It was a big shock for us because here was a gentleman who was, unlike many, very proactive, saw a doctor regularly, and yet he ended up in this place, not with, the early stages of prostate cancer, but the long-term impacts of prostate cancer. So he died at 68, and it was a big wake-up call for my family members. So my brother and I, we started on this program of proactively monitoring what's going on with the prostate. I started screening at age 40. And, to a great extent, I would say that it's because I was monitoring. Because my brother was monitoring. It's because my uncle, my father's younger brother, were monitoring. Why the outcome has been different for us. Yeah. So screening is huge, and I am a big advocate of screening, of knowing your own numbers, if only for your own peace of mind. We have to get out there, be proactive, especially in the Caribbean, the Black and Caribbean community, in particular the Caribbean community and the West African community.
Right.
We have to be super proactive. We have to advocate for the screening tools. And sometimes we have to prod our own doctors. to get them on the same page with us. So huge advocate for that. That's what the Walnut Foundation is all about. It's about engaging the community, explaining our higher risk for prostate cancer, and encouraging us to be more proactive. So this is a team effort. This is not just a me effort. There's a whole team behind us, and we are always looking for men who are willing to share their stories, because one of the big issues with this thing, of course, is secrecy.
Right.
So if we can tap into different parts of the society, in the union movement, where we've gone and we've gotten Mr. Ivan Dance to help from the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. We tap into George Brown College, where Dr. Gervin Farron, the president there, huge supporter of the work we're doing, and just different places. And it really takes a village,
right,
to help to improve the situation. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Where you're from. Okay. And would you say that there's any stigma or resistance from Black men when it comes to getting the screening or accessing the proper information about prostate cancer?
Huge issue with screening is the dreaded DRE test. And this is a test that's done in the doctor's office. It's pretty basic. They insert a glove finger through the rectum to check the circumference of the prostate, that gland I mentioned earlier. Sometimes when they're checking, they're able to pick up, nodules, growth, any irregular shape, that type of thing. That's what they're checking for.
Right.
Some of our men are resistant to that because they think it might make them gay.
Right.
Okay. So there are those notions out there. The other piece is just, anything to do with anything below the waist, is a no-no for a lot of us on there. And so there's that issue. That's one test that's done. The other test is just the PSA blood test. And that's the one that we do when we go out into the community. A simple blood test. And they check it. When they check the blood test, they're just checking to see what the level of, what the PSA level is, the prostate-specific antigen. It's a marker in the blood. Right. So they're just checking there to see what level it is. In my case, what happened was 1 year I went and my numbers were significantly higher than what it was the previous year.
Okay.
Now, by being proactive, right, I had my baseline. I know what it should be. My doctor knew what it should be. So when my number jumped from 2.61 to 4.41 over 1 year, it then signaled, hey, have to get this patient in to a urologist to do some more investigations. And so that typically would then lead to you doing a biopsy where they take samples from the prostate, and test it to see A, if there's cancer, B, if there's cancer, how extensive it is, and how aggressive are those cancer samples. That then determines what kind of treatment is meted out to you.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. And specifically in my case, there were 2 samples positive for cancer. But unfortunately for me, they were not of the aggressive variety at the time. So that put me on a path doing a treatment option known as active surveillance, where you're monitored more closely. And this, for me, went on for about 10 years, which ultimately culminated in me having to do the surgery last June. Now, to the layperson out there, or those not understanding, why would I wait 10 years when there was cancer present?
Yeah.
Generally, if the cancer is not aggressive, so it's like a Gleason 6, so a first stage,
right,
not growing, even with monitoring, then if you can deal with the emotional toll of having the cancer in you, and you're confident with the people, the treatment team around you, then you can embark on that path.
right.
Right. So for me, it was a head scratcher. It was an emotional toll,
Right.
Because the only thing I knew was you have cancer, take it out.
Right.
But by getting involved with a group like the Walnut Foundation, attending meetings, listening to different experts in the field, and with my Gleason score not changing over that whole period, I felt comfortable, confident for the period.
Right.
Yeah, so that's basically that.
That's it. Okay, all right. So, Brother Kofi, do you have any questions you have for Brother Anthony?
Definitely, but Anthony, thank you once again, right? Because I think every time I see you, I think about your dedication and commitment to this work. And you see him, we've all seen him in the community, the three of us, setting up at different events, different health-based events. And to me, it's like, absolutely, but to me, it's like, once again, we've had some of our elders who we revered pass on in the last couple of years. And I think we kind of take it for granted sometimes. Seeing somebody at an event that you respect and honor the work that they do and the role that they play in communities. I want to give you your flowers,
Thank you.
relative to your commitment to Black men's health. And a couple things I want to share before I get to the questions is, in reflecting on some of the people who have been at the forefront of health for our people, Dr. Lally Africa, for example, rest in peace. He was always at the forefront of speaking about issues, but the thing about him is his approach was very comical, and he made jabs, but in a comical way, to get people engaged in health. And I'm wondering to what degree, does this thing, if I think the first time I heard the phrase medical racism was through Dr. Africa, Dr. Africa, as we know him as, recognizing the impact of this thing called medical racism and how it shows up. I'm wondering how much of that is connected to the fact that this particular topic is not at the forefront, of aspects of our movement, right? As people of African descent and people of Caribbean descent, recognizing that it's so important, but there's not this wide awareness being made outside from the work being done by Walnut Foundation and different groups on a grand level. And we could put a couple other things and a couple other conditions, diagnosis in that range as well. Sickle cell anemia, we could go down the line. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, what role medical racism, let's call it, plays within this in terms of raising the levels of awareness and the lack of that. And lack of things like early detection and the early screenings. These things, why aren't these part of our school system? Why aren't these things being raised?
Well, you take my dad's case, for example. Here was a guy who was, like I said before, very diligent. And I recall going in when he was diagnosed, speaking to his doctor. And he said to me, "Oh, PSA test means nothing like this. I have a lot of guys running around with high PSAs and they're fine." So a statement like that totally ignores the patient in front of you, right? Because if you know the stats, if you know that there's a lot of us, under 45 showing up with aggressive prostate cancer, you would make a statement like that. So that's one thing. The other piece is, and the frustrating piece, we go out, our team go out, and we speak to a church, a group. And because of the information we're sharing, based on what we know to be true, they go and they engage with their doctor, and they says, I think I should get a PSA test. The doctor turns to the patient and says, "Oh, you don't need one," with no explanation. Right? Wait 3 more years until you're 50. But the standard of care in Ontario says men should start screening at age 50. That's the general population, right? If you have a family history, and or if you're from a Black or Caribbean background, then you want to start earlier, right? Because until such time as research or medicine can explain to us why there's this anomaly in terms of this disease, then it means we have to change something. You have to start screening earlier. You have to look at your diet. You have to look at issues like exercise, right? And different pieces of research have pointed to some of these things as solutions, right? But definitely your doctor would want to have the conversation. I just find that too often they, just kind of brush you off and treat you like the general population, right? And medicine today is becoming a lot more personalized, specialized, and that's the future of medicine, really. So I implore everyone listening to this call, know your own PSA number, right? Write it down. Keep track of it yourself, right? Have these conversations with your provider. Don't just take no for an answer. Sadly, the PSA test is not covered in Ontario. So you have to pay $40 for the test, right? Why are we putting barriers? It'd be good to see the Black community be more vocal on this issue, right? Because, it's cheaper to treat somebody early than wait until they have metastatic cancer. So basically at the Walnut Foundation, our founder and the leadership team that have come behind him, we've made it our duty to educate community, to engage community, to have these kind of dialogue and discussions with community, because prostate cancer is treatable, right? And even more if you're proactive and you're doing some of the things that we're talking about here, your outcome can be a lot better.
100%. Is going to talk. One of the burning questions. Thank you for that, brother, because it's so indicative of some of the things that we talk about on this show, and we talk about amongst ourselves in our circles around brothers being vocal about challenges, being vocal about health challenges specifically. This whole thing about I don't want to know, for example, right? Things are said like if it ain't scratching, if it's not flared up, if it's not bleeding, I'll be okay. I'm gonna work it out. How do you deal with the piece that recognizing the fact that the fear of the test sometimes and the fear of knowing really, right, which ties back to the fear of the test, is sometimes more dangerous than the disease itself. How do you address things like that with brothers, even that or people that you come across in community say I don't want to know, or they say I'm fine?
Well, the first part is to share our own personal experience. So I share my story. I'm one of 4 family members impacted, right? So know your family history, right? Is so key on there. The other thing about it too is that we have to be frank with people about this issue, because when you're treated with prostate cancer, right, it impacts incontinence. Okay, it impacts erectile function. Okay, but if you look around at the Walnut Foundation, there's a lot of us who have taken this on, and we're still here today. Right? We are not defined just by what's between our legs. We're more than that. And furthermore, you can explain to folks that, yeah, you will have incontinence after surgery or radiation or whatever treatment you take. You will, because the issue on there is the nerves that control all those functions is wrapped around said prostate. So if you remove the prostate or radiate it, you're impacting those functions, right? So it takes you a while to get back those body functions. Same thing with erectile dysfunction. That will come back over time. It takes a while. You have to work at it. In terms of the incontinence, you have to do your Kegels. You have to be disciplined about it. There are meds that you can take to help with this thing. I would encourage folks to come to our conference on October 18th, right? Because in the final segment in the evening, we'll be talking about some of these issues, tools to survive post-treatment, right? We have a pelvic floor specialist coming in to speak about that piece. And we have a sexual therapist coming all the way from Australia to be with us at a godly hour for her, 1:30 in the morning. This conference, folks, is free. And I'd like to have this thing sold out, because people are giving of their time. Right. You're getting this for free. This is excellent information. We have Dr. Danny Vesprini from Sunnybrook. We'll be moderating a session on treatment options. We have another session where we talk about the early parts of the prostate cancer journey. The active surveillance piece and the kind of stuff you do to make sure that you don't fall into this trap. We also have a caregiver who will lead a panel talking about the impact, because this impacts the family as well, impact the partners, the family members. This is something that impacts us all. We're all in this together, and we have to work together to get it, to get at it. Yeah. This is how we build resilient communities.
So as you mentioned that, so two things, and hopefully you can share some specifics about the conference. You did mention when, the where, how people can register. So we'll give you an opportunity to do that. But I wanted to ask you, what role, if any, can, partners play, with kind of encouraging men to either get tested, or that, that this is something that we have to kind of take on, like what kind of role, what advice do you have for partners that might be struggling with, getting their whatever, husbands, boyfriends, whatever it is, to actually get there, start.
You touch on a very important part there. The partners are key to this whole issue. Some of our biggest supporters are the partners, right? Because the partner can go to the appointments. They can remind, us men, we think we're invincible, right? Mm-hmm. So your partner can remind you to get your check, your tests, record your PSA numbers. If you're diagnosed, you shouldn't be doing this alone. So your partner can go in there with you, take notes on your behalf, because when you get a diagnosis, all you're hearing is cancer, death, It's over. You're not hearing a word they're saying about treatment. It just goes right over you. So it's good to have your partner right in there with you. We know from experience that having the partners involved is key, especially if after treatment you're gonna need support with catheters, and then after the catheters are out, you're dealing with incontinence. You're dealing with erectile dysfunction. I mean, how do you deal with that on your own? So the partners are definitely key part of the puzzle in terms of solving this issue.
Hey, Dr. Vibe, you're too quiet, so we gotta tag you in, my brother. Listen, we can't have this is the most quiet you ever been on this show.
Yeah, I'm just listening because I said I'm blessed to have regular conversations with Anthony, but I'll lean in with a conversation here. What role do diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management play in prostate and overall health, especially for Black men?
The diet piece is critical. We've done conferences, seminars on this issue before. What we are told, Dr. Stacy Loeb, one of the key people in the diet space, is a plant-based diet can make such a huge difference to prostate cancer, and not just prostate, but other diseases as well, diabetes, hypertension, etc. So the diet piece is important. We know from research as well that exercise is key. Weight training, just staying active is very important in terms of the recovering from the cancer, right, from the treatment. So that's key as well as afterwards. And the people who remain active, eat well, reduce stress, they tend to do a lot better from this disease.
I have permission to ask you another conversation piece. We were talking about how Black men should start looking at testing earlier. What age do you suggest Black men start talking to their doctor about PSA and DRE, and how often?
Yeah. So at our clinics, we start taking men at 40. And so that's the standard now, is to start at age 40 with the PSA, DREs, that type of thing. If there's resistance, you ask the question, push back. If you can't get a good answer, good feedback, then it might be time to consider talking to somebody else, switching doctors. We shouldn't be afraid to do that.
Also, another conversation piece. What guidance does the Walnut Foundation offer men navigating treatment options and side effects?
So we hold a support group that meets once per month, the last Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. This is online. So you can get more information by going to our website or through info@thewalnutfoundation.com, right? But the last Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. That's one piece. We also run a lot of seminars, webinars, monthly meetings. So again, if you follow the Walnut Foundation online, you'll hear about a lot of these things. Try to come in. Some of the sessions are not just for men, women, partners, whatever your sexual orientation is. We welcome you. Prostate cancer is no respecter of persons, of race, gender, religion. As long as you have a prostate, you should be engaging with the Walnut Foundation.
My question, Brother Anthony, is like, you spoke earlier about some of the myths, right? You kind of poked at it.
Mhm.
What are some of the myths and misconceptions,
Mhm.
about prostate cancer that you often encounter, especially amongst our brothers?
Yeah. So one is the one I mentioned earlier was, not wanting to do the DRE because you're going to be gay. Some people also talk about, you're getting prostate cancer because you have too much sex or too little sex. I mean, all these things are wrong. So, a real issue on there. And, there's a lot of misinformation out there on the web and in some of our little groups. And so, it's just important that we make sure that we're getting information from credible sources. And, coming to our support group, again, puts you in contact with men who've walked the path, who've been there. You won't be led astray. I guarantee you that.
I want to ask, are there any policy changes or funding priorities that would improve the outcomes for Black men?
Well, one of the things we've been pushing is to get the PSA test covered. Okay. But that has been an uphill battle. The Ministry of Health, they seem to be following old guidelines, and maybe because of cost issues, they don't see it as a priority, but it ends up actually costing the system more. If you wait until people are, metastatic, then it costs you more to treat them, right?
What is the pushback you're getting in regards to that initiative?
Well, they're saying, again, they're talking about the old guidelines. Part of the issue is the PSA test itself, right? They claim that because of PSA testing, people are being overtreated. Okay. The problem, though, as I see it, is not the test itself, right? But the education around the test and how you interpret the results. So I'll give you an example. If you're going to do a PSA test, all right, you want to be abstaining from sex or, not ejaculating 48 hours prior, all right? Because that action impacts the PSA level, okay? The other issue is, you could have an infection, which causes the PSA number to be skewed. Okay. It could be you're riding your bike. That constant up and down movement is disturbing the prostate. You hop off your bike, you go do a PSA test, your number could definitely be off. Okay. Shoveling snow, right? Any kind of physical exertion. So doctors need to educate their patients. Let them know that before you do this test, you do these certain things in preparation for the test. If they would just do that, that would reduce some of the false positives, I think. And then also the other piece is, if you're tested and it's high, you're going to get a retest, right? And then the other piece is, if you're monitoring, let's say you were like me and you were monitoring from you were 40, you would know what's normal for you, for your body, in terms of a PSA number, right? So when there is an anomaly, you can pick it up quicker. If you just come to one of our clinic, do one test, and then never get tested again for 5 years, bad things can happen. So you need to get that PSA test, that first one, get your baseline, follow up annually, right? See what your trend line looks like, so better decisions can be made for you medically. The problem is not the test. It's how the test is interpreted. If you go do a DRE, all right, and then you walk upstairs to the lab and do a PSA test, your number could be skewed. So these things are things that need to be, to be told out there. People need to be knowledgeable about it.
One of the things, a couple of things that come is this piece around, if we compare, let's say, prostate cancer to, breast cancer awareness, right? Like, why do you think men's health issues, they don't receive the same level of urgency or visibility?
Yeah, it's interesting. You see that people call you to participate in events. And at the same event, they're doing tests for things related to women. No tests for men. But part of the issue too is us guys, we're not at the table when the decisions are being made. Right? We don't speak up. We think we're invincible on there. So if you think you're invincible, you're not gonna advocate for things that would improve your health. Right? And so that's where that needs to change. And that's why these conversations are so important. Right? And from all levels, not just blue collar, but every color in between up to white collar, across religion, across socioeconomic backgrounds in our community. Everyone needs to be engaged on this file. We're dying at over twice the level of other people from something that's treatable. We could do better than that. We also need to demand more from a system because we are part of the system. We pay tax into the system.
100%. I want to go back to this, like, let's call this, again, Superman syndrome, right? And I was doing a little bit of research, reading up on what this looks like, and I see the direct connections between some of what we're talking about and Superman syndrome. So for those that don't know kind of what I'm referring to, it's, it's not a diagnosis per se, right? But it's more of a social concept, right? When you speak about like denial of vulnerability, believing nothing can hurt me, just speaking to what Anthony just said, right? Or I don't get sick, avoidance of help, right? Refusing to see doctors, therapists, asking for support, even when it's necessary, right? Pressure to perform, going back to one of the things you mentioned, once again, erectile dysfunction. I feel like it should be so much more of a regular conversation topic amongst us as men. And I think from the Caribbean perspective, right, a lot of the time the way that that's approached is it's a hyper masculinity, hypersexuality, so to speak, right? That's kind of how it's balanced. So it's like you have to drink this herb and take this and eat this so you can mash up this and you can do this to the woman and these kind of things, as opposed to balance, as opposed to the ability to say your health is important. So maintain these things for your blood, maintain these things. But when we were younger, that's something that was those are kind of conversations that were regular from grandparents and parents. These are the things you need to do. But going back to this pressure to perform, constantly pushing ourselves at relationships, pushing ourselves at work, and life without rest or a focus on our self-care, right? It's been so prevalent. And lastly, emotional suppression, right? Hiding stress, sadness, fear, because the showing of emotion looks like weakness. So I'm connecting all of this to say, like, is this a big part of the current situation?
You've hit the nail on the head. Everything that I've said ties in intricately with everything you just said. This denial, this thing that we are macho, the cultural piece. You look at the lyrics in reggae music, the lyrics in calypso. That's a big part of who we are, right? And that's the kind of lingo and language and kind of thing that's being projected on there. So if you're coming with something else, you're seen as less than, right? And so we need to get off of that train, right? And at all levels, we need or ministers or teachers or elders or head of families, or we have to start looking out for each other, right? And encourage better behaviors on there so we can get to a better place. And, all this work that's happening through the efforts of our tireless volunteers is so critical on there. And that's why our campaign this year to raise $20,000 during September is so critical on there. This is important work. There's a whole bunch of people volunteering their time and efforts and energies behind this. And we like to continue to offer these services for free. And that's why it's so important to check out our website, the September events on there, make a donation to the cause to help this work to continue.
Brother, again, I give you your flowers because your commitment to this work is so significant. I think that my concern is actually for the next generation. My concern is for other people coming up. How can you pass a baton? Like, how can people that want to get involved in Walnut Foundation? I love what you spoke about with the Thursday sessions I wasn't aware of, so I'm going to be promoting that. Thursday information sessions online. It's on Zoom, folks, so there's no excuse. Tell someone, take action. Tell someone, tell your father, your brother, your uncle, your nephew, right? Let them know they can get the information that they need. It's available. Early screening piece is key and critical. Know your PSA numbers, one of the things that was discussed tonight. And I like what you spoke about medicine becoming more personalized. If you're working with a doctor and you don't feel like they're working with you, right? As Brother Anthony said, switch doctor. If you need to switch doctors, do that. Take that step, because sometimes we're so loyal to one space, one place. We don't change our barber. We don't change. We don't like to change things. But when it's not
I
working,
have no intention of changing my barber.
True. See that, Dr. Vibe? You see, you're committed. It's loyalty.
And I don't have to give him a tip.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on that, because one of the things that keep us up at night is this whole issue of succession and passing the baton, because a lot of the gentlemen who I came and saw at the Walnut Foundation, they're getting older. I am getting older, and so one of the initiatives we've taken is to strengthen our membership committee and to start focusing more on recruitment and just engaging different people, younger people, start focusing on prevention more. We want to talk to you before you're stage 3 or stage 4 prostate cancer. All right. The other thing I would say is as well, it's heartbreaking when somebody supports us financially and share our information all across the internet in their networks. And then it turns out that they're not screening, So again, folks, we appreciate the support, but please, please, please take care of you. If you take care of you, you can help us more. You can help your family more. You can help your community more.
All right, I'm going to give some quick rapid fire questions for you. So first rapid fire, what are 3 concrete steps Black men from 35 to 55 can take this month to understand their risk and get screened?
That's for me?
Absolutely. You're the master.
I'm the master. So one, engage with the Walnut Foundation. You want to do that.
Master.
You definitely want to engage with us on there, and start looking out for each other, and just try to do the right thing for yourself. Eat right, sleep, reduce stress, and just be the best you can be.
Okay. What question should men ask at their next appointment?
What question should they ask? Well, it depends on their probably depends on their age, but you might want to ask if they're aware of a higher likelihood of getting prostate cancer, all right? And when do they think you should start doing screening, that type of thing. Get that conversation going. That will tell you a couple of things, how they think, what their perspective is. But at least you have the conversation, right? And kind of get that going.
Okay. One screening stat every man should know.
One screening stat. That's a good one. I would say the pre-work before you screen is important. So what behaviors? No ejaculation within 48 hours of screening. Reduce riding your bike, physical exertion, that type of thing before you go do a screening. We don't want you to be stressing out unnecessarily from a flawed test result.
Okay. If viewers remember one thing from tonight, what should it be?
What should it be? Know your family history. Know that we have a stronger likelihood of getting prostate cancer. Know that we're twice as likely to die from it.
Any final messages you'd like to share with our audience?
Finally, I would just like to say, remain engaged. Talk to your brothers, uncles, fathers, all the men in your lives. Encourage them to get screened, all right? And follow the Walnut Foundation. Sometimes it's easier to share something because you might not know how to explain it. So share the information, share the seminars, the webinars, the conference that's coming up in October 18th. So again, follow the Walnut Foundation. You'll always get good information from us, and then you can act on it. You can be great ambassadors for the work we do, and we appreciate all the ambassadors. Yes, it's about fundraising, but it's also about spreading the word and doing the right thing.
Excellent. On that note, we will let you go. Thank you, as always, for all your hard work.
Before you go, I have a question, which is just quickly looking forward in terms of your vision for prostate cancer awareness for the Black community. What are 3 things that's part of that vision that you see in the next 5 to 10 years for prostate cancer?
When we do these PSA blood tests around the GTA, and one of the alarming things that we're finding is about 20% of the samples need follow-up. If we're still doing these tests 5 years from now, I'd like to see better results. The other piece, and this has to do with health equity, and it's why we are funding the scholarship at the TME Medical School. I would really like to see more, people that look like us in the system serving us, engaging us in urology. You know, if we have to deal with a pelvic floor specialist, you know, sex therapists, family doctors, right? We need to see more of that, and that's why we've committed to funding the TMU Medical School. We already, by the way, have another endowment set up at U of T Medical School. We've seeded that one with $46,000. So each year when we raise funds, we allocate a little bit to both parts. Because this issue of being ignored, all right, it's a multi-year, multi-pronged effort. You know, it's not just us fanning out across the province in different pockets and talking and going to churches and that. It's also about making investments in us so we can see, you know, a difference long term. That's how you build community. The target really is to have an endowment at TMU Medical School of $150,000. We're just not funding that yet because we don't have the capacity to do that. But that's a vision, and that's the kind of things that we'd like to see happening in our community.
Beautiful. I think it would be good, Dr. Bio. I think we should bring Brother Anthony back on before that event, a week or two, if possible, before this event, to promote it. I think it would be great to have someone like the sex therapist, have someone like the Kiko specialist, someone, you know, that wants to come on and drop some gems on our listeners so that they can tantalize a little bit to understand what's gonna, you know,
the sex therapist is in Australia, so that might be a tough one. But maybe I can get her to record something. But I certainly love to come back on and have a chat about the conference. Again, it's on the 18th, and between now and then, the activism continues. We're doing a PSA blood test screening at IUPAT Union Hall on the 4th of October, and we're doing another screening on the 20th at Sheridan College in Mississauga, Hazel McCallion campus, next Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, follow the Walnut Foundation. All the information will be there. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so
much. Gents, appreciate the chat as always, and you know, appreciate your work that you do to lift up community. Thank you.
Well, as always, to you, your family, the Walnut family, and all the men and families that you helped. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
That's necessary. Thank you.
All right, Kofi, any final thoughts before we call it a conversation?
You know, one of the things I love about us creating this space, Dr. Vibe, is that it's not just information and education for our listeners, but we learn, right? So this whole piece around detection, early detection, this whole piece around recognizing the things that need to be done prior to a test. These are things that probably our doctors, once again, or these, you know, medical professionals, so to speak, are not telling us. So we got to have our brother on to come on, you know, to re-educate and to reaffirm a lot of these things. And we keep the dialogue going. I think the importance, once again, of Black men's health and the commitment to our health, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, being a practice for us, needs to become a commandment that we look at. You know, has to become a part of our mission as Black men.
Absolutely. Walnut Foundation does great heart work, and I believe, especially with Black men, being afraid to investigate your health is being selfish, because there's at least one other person that's counting on you.
100%.
And if you're not taking care of your health, you're being selfish. And I'll leave it at that. If anyone wants to push back on me, you know my email address, you know my contact information, because I'll ask, is anyone counting on you in their life? And if you tell me nobody, I'll find someone that's counting on you that you may not even know about. whether it's at your workplace, your family, your next door neighbor, auntie, uncle, etc. So the more you invest in your own health, the better you can help others.
100%.
Simple as that. And as I always say to people, I take my health seriously. I visit my doctor every month. And people say, are you that sick? I say, no, especially in this country, I'm going to take care of healthcare while I can not have to pay for it. So preventative. And a good point by Anthony also there, know your family medical history and present that information to your doctor.
100%.
That is really critical.
That's often one of the challenges we face. And the fact that the dialogue sometimes is not coming down, so the clarity is not there. The intergenerational wisdom that can be passed on relative to our health is so important and impactful. So, and we've inherited illnesses and different ailments through our blood, through our ancestry. So those are things that we need to look at. Those are things that we've been exposed to by elders in our community to speak about that connection. Elder Kai was one of them, right? He always spoke about the fact that through venereal diseases that were actually transmitted through the slave trade, right, that came down through our blood, right, are things that are still affecting us today, right? So there's not a lot of research that you're going to find from these institutions because that's not their focus, right? Those are things that we need to be focusing on and acknowledging. So how do we heal our ancestral line? How do we heal and change things moving forward for our future? How we take care of ourselves today, as Dr. Brian just mentioned, taking your health serious, making that your number one priority. Because if that was your car and it was breaking down, you know what I'm saying? You'd go and get it checked out. You know what I mean? If it was something that was that in your cell phone is not working properly, you go one time and go to a tech. Why not have the same approach with your health? Why not have the same approach, with the future of your health and your bloodline to ensure that you're addressing those things, taking it even more serious than these devices that will die on us. Because you got one body this lifetime. So take it serious, family. Once again, it's a Black Men Can Talk live show. You can email us at blackmencantalk@gmail.com. You would like to be a guest on a future show, you have someone that you think would be a great guest for a future show topics, feel free to shoot us a line. Looking forward to connecting once again next Sunday, 8 p.m. Have a blessed, powerful, peaceful week, everybody, and continue to take steps for your health.
All right, and just to sign off, Kofi Sadat, his information there via email, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. He had to jump off early, but he is still here. Kofi Morris is there. Email address, 2 Instagram handles, and also on Facebook, Kofi Coach. And with myself, if you want to get in touch with me, one link, taplink.cc/The Dr. Vibe Show. And it's been playing over the last few minutes. If you want to watch replays of this epic conversation, you can watch on the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. And also you can catch it on Paul Osbourne Facebook. So as always, we like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. If you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And as always, make it better. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good.
Time that our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing. And they know
my dad's at that point now. It says,
That's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these two brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
no
that.
joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book is in the
Black book.
Men Talk, Black Book.